Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, this is episode 244. And tonight we are doing the Dalmore Select Edition 2008. It's part of their vintage collection.
Yep.
And from there, we'll have our shout outs and get it togethers, followed by a restaurant review being the Thirsty Lion. And then our smarter challenge, which was to attend the art exhibit of the father of impressionism, which is Pissarro, which I thought was awesome. So thank you. Shout out to Jesse for hooking that up. And so real quickly, if you do like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. We do appreciate all of you who watch us on YouTube and Rumble or listen to us on the many different podcast platforms. If you do like Pissarro or any impressionist artists, please leave some comments down below. Let us know what artists you like or what paintings you enjoy. And let us know what you feel like, what you think about the Dalmore. We love to hear from you all.
Scotch Reviewed.
Here we do have the Dalmore's Select Edition 2008. As mentioned, as part of their vintage collection is what we are to understand. This one being the 2008, bottled in 2023, so it was aged 15 years in bourbon casks and then finished in Pedro Ximénez ex-sherry casks. And the finish is said to have really left some of that sherry, that wine influence upon this scotch. So haven't even looked at it yet. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty dark and rich in color. Couple things about our Dalmore distillery here. It is located in Elness, Scotland, 20 miles north of Inverness. So it sits on the banks of Cromarty Firth, overlooking the Black Isle, which is the big meadowland from which it takes its name. It is currently owned by White and Mackay, founded in 1839. Alness River is their water source. They do have 4 wash stills, 4 spirit stills, and an annual capacity of 4.2 million liters per year, or 920,000 imperial gallons. The operations have run fairly smoothly at the distillery since 1917, when the British Royal Navy began to use, of course, the Firth next to the distillery as a site for the production of deep sea mines. In 1920, much of the distillery destroyed because of an explosion and a fire that resulted from a mine detonation incident. Thanks a lot, Royal Navy. The legal battle between Andrew Mackenzie and the Royal Navy that ensued lasted over half of a decade, more than 5 years, and it even reached the House of Lords. But before 1970, before we got to World War territory, distillery, again, established in 1839 by, at that time, known as an entrepreneur, Alexander Matheson. And he then sold it to Andrew and Charles Mackenzie in 1867. So 28 years later, they introduced the 12-pointed Royal Stag emblem, which they had been given rights to use long ago. Lots more about the history of the Dalmore in some of our previous episodes, where we've done greats like the cigar malt, the 15-year, and the King Alexander III, which whose life was saved by a member of the family who was given right to use that 12-pointed stag as part of their emblem. Anything you want to say about tours for this little distillery?
Well, currently the tours are shut down for the Dalmore. What they do suggest is that you join the Dalmore Guild in order to receive the information or notices of when they will announce their 2026 experiences. But currently right now it's very limited, and you have to special request to try and get a tour.
Without further ado, we'll start to get ready for this 2008. And as we've learned from our previous Dalmore experiences, they are aged always in those two types of casks. The Ex-Bourbon American White Oak casks, and then, of course, the Ex-Sherry casks. Some of them, however, are finished a little bit differently, and they give you a nice little base if you want to stow your bottle right side up on the base as opposed to upside down. The box, nice sturdy box bottle, typical Dalmore bottle. Of course, got the stag on there. They've got their normal size and shape, but the special ones here, as opposed to having a label, they have literally got metal on stuck to the glass. I don't know if it was melted on there or adhered with some sort of glue, but it
does look cool.
It looks pretty badass.
That is way cool.
Yeah, that I like. So that's a new experience for me. They have their Dalmore 3-dimensional hologram on the back for proof of being real Dalmore Scotch. The foil's a nice, stiff, sturdy foil, tearing very nicely.
That's what she said.
That's right. But here's where they lose us. Damn it. The plastic top. Yeah, it's cool. It's got the 12-point stag on it, but why do a plastic top when you go all that extra effort and do a solid cork? This one's going to be exciting here. Bottled at 45.8% ABV. This is just a little bit higher than their norm. I'm enjoying the nose on this already. I feel like it's got some pretty good, some citrus.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for our warp speed and tasting notes. So cheers.
Cheers.
The Dalmore Special Edition 2008 vintage release. It comes in like a wrecking ball. It's kind of the I forget how that song
Came
goes.
in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
You didn't have to.
You knew what I was thinking right there. Anyways, first off, presentation, kick ass. I love the box. I love how you can use a topper as like a base to put the bottle on. I love how they use the metal on the bottle all the way through. The one knock, if there has to be a knock, is the plastic topper, but it does have real cork. Nonetheless, I did not dock points for the plastic top. I gave it 5 points out of 5. The color here, I enjoyed the color. What I put here was Pissarro's Golden Sunsets. When you look into his paintings, I just thought I tied in somehow, but it is a nice, really nice, like gold with a tint of amber in there. Really like the coloring here. Gave it 5 points here. The the nose. On the nose, I had plums with sultanas, notes of tobacco, mild smoke, cloves, oak, and the sweet, nutty aroma. And I don't know what the sweet, nutty aroma is because I'm not sure what nut it is. Jesse and I had discussed it during our warp speed session, and I'm not sure if he pinpointed it at all, but I know I sure didn't. So I'm just going to settle with sweet, nutty aroma. I gave that 28 points. The palate, This was my high point here. My initial thoughts were that it's light-bodied on the front palate with mild vanilla, honey, and plum. And then it becomes a more creamy full body at the mid to back palate with notes of raisin, chocolate, and caramel. However, as it opens up, that creaminess becomes more of a total full body. You get the creaminess on the front part of the palate too. Originally, I scored it at 28 points, but once it opened up and it became more full body creaminess throughout the whole palate from the front to the back, that bumped it up to 29 points. The finish, this is my low point here. I put here the finish. This is where the clove spiciness starts to appear on the back palate going into the finish, which is medium length with notes of cocoa, malt, and there's also a touch of lingering spice. I think in the lingering spice here, it's not only just clove. It could be also some pepper of some sort. I'm not the hugest fan of the finish here, so I did give it 26 points. Grand total is 93 points. I enjoy this particular scotch a lot. Is it black tie worthy? I'm going to say yes, it is. Is it game night worthy? Depends on what kind of game you're playing. But for the most part, I'm gonna go with the horde status here. Does it have a place on your shelf? I'm going to say yes. However, that being stated, if you have a limited amount of space for Dalmores, I'm not sure I would make this my shelf one if I had space for like one or two Dalmores. I might go with like a couple different other options because I do think there's a couple other Dalmores that deliver all the way through. Slightly bit better than this one. But this is still very noteworthy and very worth every sip of the dram. So shout out to Jesse for getting this one here for us to try.
All right. Well, my score turns out the same, just a little bit different. I did struggle with the plastic top. But in lieu of that and the quality of the box and this metal on the front of the bottle, it still got a 5. I was torn. It almost got a 4 for that freaking plastic top, but 5 out of 5 for presentation. 5 out of 5 for color. I love this color. I think it is very rich and woody. I feel like I can see the wood in this, the cask flavor coming through from that Pedro X finish. It's great. So 5 out of 5 for color. For me, it's a Pissarro Scotch Harvest. And if you have seen some of Pissarro's works, he has a lot of paintings that he dedicated to the harvest, a pea harvest, an apple harvest, a hay harvest, lots of hay. And I think that is fitting for this dram. I really do. I think that's great. The nose is the win here for me. It is super sweet right off the bat. There's some honey. There is definitely this fruit presence. It's jammy fruit presence. And I couldn't pinpoint what exact fruit it was, but I want to say the more I smell it, it's a very floral fruit, kind of like overripe cherries and maybe blackberries, but it does not have that on the palate as much. The palate is much more succinct with prune or raisin, but also on the nose, there's that little bit of orange, sweet orange and chocolate, sweet chocolate. And then what ties it all together beautifully, wraps it up kind of with a bow, is the scent of some tobacco. Really do like the nose on this one. 29. The palate right behind at a 28. So the palate, depending on the sip in the glass. In the Glencairn, it's a little thinner up front, creamier along the back of the palate. In a regular glass, it is creamy from front to back for me. Again, very sweet right up front. We've got the honey, orange. There is more and more coming out, some sort of citrus, and I think it's lemon. And then it's got a presence of tea, of like actual tea leaves, sweet tea, a little hay. The tobacco comes back, and I love that. That second half, super creamy. Then it goes dry. It goes cocoa powder for me. That's where those like that little bit of the nuttiness really comes out. Not so much on the nose for me. There's hints of it there, but in the palate. And the only thing I can say, I think it's a mix of macadamia nut and walnut. Kind of like that sweet, salty macadamia nut walnut bit. And here, again, that's where the palate is wrapping up. 28 on the palate. Here's where the palate kicks in and then also delivers to the finish. This is where the kick comes, literally kicks in. I mean that. The clove and pepper. And I think it's fair to say it's a little of each. It also continues to go dry. So it's still sweet with a little bit of honey and a little bit of that berry sweetness in the back, the prune. But the oak also comes through. And then the malt. I think you can't ignore the presence of the malt on the finish pretty much along the whole way of the finish, a little earthy. The finish was the low point for me as well, 26.93 also total. Same points, different way we got there. Black tie, yes. Game night, yes. Space on shelf. Now, ultimately, yes, if I see a bottle of this and I want to make space for it on my shelf, I'm going to do that. What I will then present, however, is, for me, is it the best of Dalmore? No. I would take a bottle of the King Alexander III, the 18-year, the cigar malt. I'm even going to venture to bet I would prefer, if I really had them right next to each other, the 15 as much, if not more than this. And then the finish on this is what leaves me wanting. So it's not the top of Dalmore, not even close. They probably know that. They've got great expressions far beyond this. But I still love the 12-year Sherry Cask Select. I think it does just as nice of a job for 12 years as opposed to 15 here with that sherry presence, and leaves me less wanting for a stronger finish. And then as I started talking about last week, is this a dram I come home to if I just had a win or a loss? No, it's still not. It's a good dram, but it's not the one I want to finish with.
I forgot about that new addition that you added. I would say the same thing. It's not gonna be the one I want for a win or a loss.
Like, it is a fun dram on the palate, especially the front of the palate, but the finish just like I want something else for the finish.
I would also venture to say, before we wrap up the whole Scotch tasting part, is I would drink it out of a rocks glass.
10 out of 10.
It's time for our shout-outs.
Love them or hate them, doesn't even matter. Shout out to our current president for continuing to make changes, whether you love them or hate them. You're BlackRock, you hate it right now, to try to make the American people's lives better. And not just, here's what I love more than anything. You take out the fact that it's him. Like, if you hate him, just take out the fact for that. Now add in the fact if you have kids. Think about what he is potentially doing after bringing in, $40 billion the last 2 months in tariffs when they said it wasn't going to work, and it worked. But also what he's done potentially, we still have to watch this one fully unfold, for the housing market for these younger generations. That is, again, you can love him or you can hate him, but that is what I voted for. I think the guy needs to keep his mouth shut sometimes, but that he's doing what I voted for. And so shout out to his continued drive to make the world a better place for the younger generations.
All right, so that's a good shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to you again.
Oh, shit. Well, I didn't do it.
I think you shout out's good, right? Like, that's a good thing.
What? Sydney Sweeney?
Sure. If I can get her there for you, sure. No, but I'm giving you a shout out because you being an inspiration. You've been really consistent with your going to the gym and stuff like that. It's kind of motivated me some, and then also for just I don't know you. I don't know if I should give like maybe a shout out to your son,
Dude, probably
Hayden, for this, but he has influenced your life in a way to where you started changing some aspects of your life, and then you brought up a great quote a couple times in our conversations about don't count the days, but I forget how the exact quote goes. Don't count the days, but something about
make your days count.
Make your days count.
Yeah.
And that is a really valuable piece of advice, and I think it's great. And so for me, I'm giving you a shout out for that inspiration of how you've been. And also being grateful for like sometimes for people not even like meeting up to your standards. I know I know it drives you crazy. I really do. I know it drives you crazy. But also I know you've been like really good about like not hammering people when you really could hammer them. So that's like a huge inspiration there. And just approaching it differently.
Well, thank you. And that for me, and I'm glad you mentioned it, like Aiden, that honestly, and even Mila, but particularly recently Aiden, that credit goes largely to him and his influence and impact on my life. So cheers, Aiden. I know you don't drink, and I appreciate that. I respect that. Like, honestly, like
I'll cheers your dad for you, Aiden. Cheers.
No, seriously, like totally motivational when you talk about those life changes. That's absolutely a big piece of it. All right, this week's restaurant review. Oh, man. So, by default, we stumbled upon this place originally after going to go see The Honest Eye, Camille Pissarro's Impressionism. My original plan was to go to Ship's Tavern, but then when we left that, I'm like, hey, I know I'm going to go there and spend $100 plus on a bottle of wine. I don't want to spend $200 on lunch, and B, I didn't want to walk that far. So we changed direction, chose a restaurant, ended up somewhere else, even so, at the Thirsty Lion. You want to kick this one off?
Nope. I'll let you start, man.
All right.
You do a great job. It's like a lot easier for me to be like, yep.
All right. Well, with the Thirsty Lion, we were walking down to the restaurant we were originally going to. No name needs to be mentioned because we never made it that far. Came across the Thirsty Lion, thought like, hey, this place looks pretty cool.
Actually, I just thought the name
was badss. Like the name is definitely
that was the whole reason why. It was just like the name. I'm like, sweet. I like the name.
Yes. So the name being badass was definitely a big piece of the win. So we entered. And what I'll say is from the outside, the name is the best part. Like it's a cool name, Thirsty Lion. The exterior isn't bad. It's also not great. It's nothing.
It has a big patio area though.
And I think that's a big piece is that
I think it'd be awesome during the summertime.
That or even just a slightly warmer day. But with that, the outside isn't really like something that would necessarily draw, I don't think, most people in. But it's still nice. I gave the exterior a 7. Now, the one thing that you have to realize is where it's located, basically right there at the 16th Street Mall. Parking, especially during peak or busy times, could become an opportunity. We lucked out for the most part, I felt, from what I expected to what we got. So I gave the exterior a 7. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Going to the interior, I flipping loved the inside. Like, I literally loved the inside. If I was going to do a lounge in my house, that's kind of how I would, like, that feels how I want it to feel. Comfortable, dark and romantic, but still functional. Seats not so close together. I didn't feel like anyone was bumping into anyone else because they tried to cram in 4 extra tables. I loved the interior. I gave the interior a 9, both from seating for food or in the bar area or high tops as we chose. Interior got a 9 for me. The service, minus having to wait just a little bit longer than I wanted to once. I thought the service was solid. So ultimately, I gave the servers, both the hostess and the server, I gave them an 8. I thought that they were prompt, they were attentive. They did a really nice job getting our food to us, or perfect. Like my burger was literally perfectly cooked. And I don't know that I can say that about most of the burgers I've given great scores to, but all of that goes into service, that food being just right, and the fries were freaking delicious with that little bit of salt. I'm so glad you had suggested adding that because it changed the fries, the world. So service was an 8. Food. This doesn't happen a lot. I kind of wish now we had done a dessert or an appetizer or something else, because all I had was my burger. So my score is going off this one item. So let me explain this one item to you. And I think for the most part, Noah and I almost had identical meals. So his perception may be a little bit different. But we went with the Gastro Pub Burger. Me, medium rare, warm pink center, a little bit of red. Gorgonzola infused burger with grilled sweet onion. Maple pepper bacon. Yum. Yeah. White cheddar, arugula, and a horseradish cream sauce. On a grilled ciabatta bun. Now that was the only part I didn't love, but it was still tasted delicious. It was the one time where I'm like, I want to eat this whole damn bun. Most of the time I just want to throw them to the side. This one was the right crispy and the right soft. $21.95 for this burger and fries was worth every penny. I gave my food a 10. I don't have anything that wasn't a 10. Like, it was a 10. So ultimately, food a 10 because of all of the aspects I loved about this restaurant. And I mean that as I say it, loved. Because I loved the interior. The service was great. Honestly, I might be doing her wrong, only giving her an 8. The value, because the food's a 10, easily an 8. So overall, an 8.4 for my score. Would I meet a friend there? Yeah, absolutely. Would I take a date there? Again, yeah, absolutely. This is a place I would go out of my way to go back to, and they may disappoint me next time. The score could completely change, but because of my experience right now, if I'm anywhere in this area and I want to go back just to try something else because this burger was that goddamn good, right now, yes, it's a destination.
I gave the outside an 8. I love the big patio area. I just like the way I viewed it was like for the summertime, it would be ideal to be able to sit out as long as it's not like in the 90 to 100 degree weather type of time frame. In that case, you want to do like an evening type of like outdoor seating. But I love the big, huge patio. I love the big inside. I like the dark wood, how they had it set up. It wasn't like crammed, like you mentioned. The bar in the middle. The hostess with the mostess. I gave it an 8.
Okay.
So that was a solid 8 there. The food, I love the burger. The fries needed a little bit of salt, but like the fries were pretty good. Like the fries were on point. I gave I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And to your point, like they did cook the meat right. Like normally, I used to get my burgers medium or medium rare, but they like no one ever seemed to cook that burger medium correct. It either came out like too red or too well done, and then also like they were using like cheap buns, so like the buns would get all soggy. So that's some of the main reasons why I started getting my burgers as well done. Because like the soggy buns on the bottom, I really hated it. So to kind of like avoid that, I started getting like well done burgers. Plus I have this weird thing now because I read some stupid article about how like it could be like 50 different cows in one hamburger patty, which it really shouldn't bother me, and I don't know why it did bother me, but all those things combined, now I get my burgers well done now. But I got the same burger as Jesse. I freaking love the burger. But I gave it a 9. I didn't give it a full 10. I probably could get a 10, but I just gave it a 9. The service, it was a little bit. I think I scored it lower than you. I gave it a 7 because not that it wasn't like prompt, not like she did anything wrong with service wise, but I thought she felt disingenuous. I don't feel like
you made that comment.
I don't feel like she was like
wanted to be there
or emotionally
engaged.
Like that is it EQ? I think her EQ is slightly bit off. But like even like when you like I could hear her because she was behind me when she was talking like to the people at the bar, like her laughs seemed fake and stuff like that. So and I'm like maybe it was just an off day for her, but anyways, I gave the service a 7. The value, I gave it an 8, so that gives me a total value 8.
That's solid.
That's a solid 8, right? So, would I go back there again? Yes. Would I take a date there? Yes. Would I meet a friend there? Yes. Is it a destination? This is a place where I would go out of my way to go visit again. So therefore, because I would go out of my way to go visit there and drive that distance to go there, then the answer to this question, is it a destination, is a yes.
Yeah. I'm like actually excited. I want to go back. Like,
I do. I totally
even more
back.
than I wanted to go back to Spinky's Roadhouse. That burger was that goddamn good to me.
The thing is, like, I have a buddy who like works at Coors. And every once in a while, he'll like offer up like tickets to the Rockies games. Now I'm like, next time I go there, I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to go psych boy. I can go to this fucking like Thirsty Lion because it's not too far from Coors Field, and I'd love to like try a different meal there because I. Like the food there was like that burger. It was like, it's hard to say, like, it's who thinks of a burger like that was a great burger. Like it was a great burger though.
It was a phenomenal burger.
Or at the quote Jules from Pulp Fiction, that is a tasty burger.
Say what? One more time.
What?
All right, so these things come and go, and I think it's a gift when one even just likes art, takes the time to go enjoy art, especially a collection that the Denver Art Museum puts together. Now, some of their collections, I'll say it, I thought they were trash. Others have been life-changing. Their Monet exhibit, I don't know that anyone's ever had an exhibit as great or will ever have an exhibit as great again. And when I say great, I just mean expanding so many priceless pieces of art in one exhibit. Well done. The Monet exhibit, and I've shared this with Noah, the Monet exhibit was probably the best exhibit I've ever seen. The Cartier one was more impactful to me because I love craftsmanship, not just with paint, but with all forms. But the Monet is one I wish I would have taken my kids to, and I didn't. They had school and life, and I was doing my own life and work, and there's great exhibits. Now, Pissarro came across the board, and I'm like, hey, I got to go see this because I don't know that it's going to be as great as Monet. He's not nearly as well known, right? And I did not know a ton about Pissarro's work myself, other than he was kind of in that same time frame, Impressionism. Let's go figure out what we can see. So that became, to the Smarter Challenge quickly became, hey, this is only here for a few months. We're running out of time. It's over in February. We got a few weeks left. Let's go see The Honest Eye, Camille Pissarro's Impressionism. And couple quick little facts. This guy, born July 10th, 1830, on St. Thomas, which is now a U.S. Virgin Island. Back then, it was owned by the Dutch. He passes away 73 years later, 73 years in a number of months, November 13th, 1903. His origins, he's Danish and French, known for being an impressionist, but also a neo-impressionist. I'm going through some of his life stories and we can bounce back and forth, but one that really stuck with me, there's two pieces, but the one that really stuck with me is that in 1873, so at this point he's 43 years old, he helps establish a collective society of 15 artists, and he was considered the pivotal figure, one of the pivotal figures, if not the pivotal figure, in holding the group together and encouraging others in their art. I don't know that everyone gets this or understands it or appreciates it, but when you have real friends, and especially I think different friend groups and different, I do think men have benefited from this more throughout time possibly than women because of our agreeing to disagree being genuine versus disingenuine. Oh yeah, fine, everything's fine. Yeah, I'm going to kill that bitch. She made a better apple pie type of thing versus, yeah, man, I don't like your art. Here's like Monet literally telling Pissarro, stop painting this shit. This is what people want to buy. Like, hey, also it takes too long, and there's different pieces there. But I really appreciate how, and you mentioned at the beginning, known as the father of Impressionism, that being given to him by other artists and knowing that both Monet and Renoir were at his funeral, at his passing.
Don't forget, like, with Monet, it was either him or his wife, or maybe both were, like, godparents to his kids.
Like, these other artists who are known for being far greater were there at saying, took the time to go say goodbye to this man. And that to me is very significant. That to me was very significant. But before I just go on, no future oriented pieces, anything you want to say before we just ask a couple quick questions, like which pieces of art or what themes might have impacted us or what did we take away?
So one thing here is this guy was determined to be a painter no matter what. Like, you mentioned he was born in St. Thomas. His parents were probably like, I guess you might call it like the burger class. Like there's like the like high end like merchant class, and they wanted their son, him, to be a merchant, like take over the business and stuff like that. And he's basically like, nah, I ain't having this. I'm going to be a painter. And he met, like, I forget who the painter was that he met. I could probably find it real quick. But regardless, he met this guy, Fritz Melby, or Melby. He's like, hey, man, you're a painter? And he's like, yeah, I'm a painter. He's like, you want to come with me to Venezuela? He's like, yeah, I'll go to Venezuela and, like, paint. And so he's like, peace out, parents. I'm out. I'm going to Venezuela with this painter dude. I'm going to learn from him. And, like, he was so determined to become a painter. He never even went. Like, he did go to some institution, but he never actually stayed there or whatever. He was basically self-taught, and he learned from other artists and did not go through what one would say is an institutionalized format to teach him how to paint. And in fact, he was really against that institutionalized art form with the whole Paris salon era when he does move to Paris, and how he's like, fuck these guys. I'm going to start this cooperative here with a bunch of other people who want to paint like what they see and how they are impressed by nature and shit. Sorry, I probably fucked all that up.
No, I think that's an interesting, it's a good point because he did take some classes and attend the school, the Academia Suisse and some other pieces.
Yeah, for a short period of time.
For a short period of time.
But basically like.
But you mentioned the salon, the Paris salon, and that's where he was just like, hey, like, I don't want to be told what to do. I want to do what he wanted to have feeling very much be invoked from his art. And I think, as we're not here to compare the two, but as I think about him and Monet, I love Monet's works. And I believe that Monet's works are very, in general, uplifting.
You bring it. Okay, I think you're going right. I think you're going.
They were very uplifting and very intentional in the sense of this is what people want, and this is how I can make money because this is what people want. And
Monet,
Pissarro,
mainstream.
Yeah, so almost like literally, it doesn't matter if you're the best if you're not genuine. And here's what I never would have taken away, and I'm still torn between do I love this guy's art or not, because Pissarro's like, hey, yeah, people don't want to see a dark and dreary day, but I'm going to paint this scene. And this is something Monet did also with lily ponds and other things, different times, different seasons. But for the most part, when Monet did it, there were some fog scenes and there were some weather scenes. Pissarro was absolutely all about, like, this is the real world. Like, this is real life, by the way. And yeah, you guys see this as a bunch of piss-ons doing work, walking down the street, X, Y, and Z. I see it as this is the beauty of life, the fact that we even get this chance. And that's where I'm kind of torn, is because Pissarro didn't just go with one stretch. He went through different pieces, not just Impressionist, but Neo-Impressionist, and then not just certain strokes, but
when
also...
you say Neo-Impressionist, you're talking like the whole like dots.
Dots, like teeny little dots, without the machine.
I did like his dot work.
Some of his dot work was really great. Also, some of his dot work had to be like that thick on the damn canvas.
Some of his dot work was very impressive, like with the colors and stuff. I think, and here's what I think why I liked his dot work is probably because I think some of his dot work was closer to the brightness of some of Monet's work.
And that's a good point, because a lot of his
because it was not dot work, his not like neo-impressionist stuff was very dark and dreary and very like how would I say I don't want to say rugged, but I was gonna say
it was real, but gritty, almost depressing.
Gritty, real world ethos, if you will, because he painted about peasants and stuff, and I think I think you're bringing this up, like Monet. I think he understood like his paintings were going to be bought by like the rich merchants or by the royals, right? And Pissarro was like, "Fuck you guys! I'm going to paint what's real. I'm going to paint peasants. I'm going to be painting like what they like washing clothes and shit like that." And like he's like painting like gray, dreary stuff that. Honestly, like if I was in the high tier burger like merchant class or any elites like the royals, I would buy Monet over his work. Not saying that his work was terrible, but I don't want like a depressing piece of work. I want something that's colorful that would move me. And not that his work doesn't move me. It's just I don't want to be depressed.
No, you're a good point. And here's for my anyone in my mainstream, my art is Formula One art. Like that's where I put my money, signed little pieces and whatnot. And it's uplifting, like seeing all these cars. First of all, typically I didn't buy the print if it wasn't about a winner or someone I respected. Second of all, if it's a rain scene, it's because someone dominated that goddamn race and season in that rain scene.
Verstappen in Brazil, like a
that's what I'm talking about.
Like when he like totally dominated in the rain.
Yeah. It was, and I think I think I've got
I
one
love how we
downstairs.
bring in, like, we're stopping to
Well, like for me, Schumacher in Spa in the rain pouring, on the wall down
I think
there.
you showed me a bit of that, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You showed me like some like Singapore or something like that.
Yeah. It's the one where literally I don't know how they let that. Like, yeah, we're not here to talk about Formula One. But imagine,
Yeah, we are.
Imagine
He's fooling you.
Pissarro. Imagine Pissarro painting some of those race scenes. That would be very impressive to me.
I think he'd fucking excel in that, like with the rain and the gloom and like
Right, the real.
Yeah, I think he would like excel in that.
Yeah. All right. So as you were looking, you already mentioned some of the things that caught your eye: the point, the dots. Were there any themes, or besides the dots, or any other pieces that really caught your eye, or just things in general?
I have a hard time pinpointing which is my favorite, but I am going to lean towards the steamboats in Rouen.
Yep.
Right? I think it's I'm not sure if it's sunset or sunrise. I think it's a sunset. But that scene, like how he painted that up close, beautiful up close, but really I think the actual beauty of it really came out when you were about 10 to maybe about 10 feet away, and it was just, I don't know, very captivating. Being that like I've been to France before, and seeing some like how like the European architecture is, and like how he painted like that particular scene, I really like found it emotionally satisfying, I will say.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones that I liked. I think most of the stuff that I did like was his stuff from Ron.
Because a lot of the marine.
I also liked his like rooftop scene. His Paris stuff was okay. But I think that he did his Paris work when he was older.
Yes, so the paintings you're talking about, I believe all of them, he painted it in right around 1896 is when they are credited to. So just literally, we're talking 7 years before he passed. But yes, that's the same period where I really also genuinely appreciated him. But part of that, I think, is also because I think he'd gone away for me. It's not that I didn't like the dots and the points so much as he had dealt with eye problems his whole life. Yeah. And especially at the end of his life, he literally is quoted as saying, "Hey, I paint with one eye." And I think that actually is what is most unbelievable is his late works, the 1890s, 1896 in Rouen. They're like some of the most detailed when you look at them from about 10 feet, 15, maybe even 20 feet away. And again, not to compare him to another artist, but a modern artist still living, Mark Tennant, paints paintings the same way. Whereas if you're up close, it just looks like a bunch of swipes. You step back 20, 30, 40 feet, it is a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing how these artists, it's like him and some other great artists, like up front, like how do they paint this to where it looks so much more beautiful when you stand back?
Maybe it was the mushrooms.
Maybe it was the mushrooms.
But I agree. It's amazing.
But other than that, I did, like I said, the reason why I liked his experimental period with the dots, the neo impressionism, is because I found his work to be brighter. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why I enjoyed those more. I'll just plainly say that, not that his work wasn't great or whatever. I was not a huge fan of like seeing like a farm girl sitting on the side, or like some of like the peasant work. I mean, historically, to look at it from a historical sense, great to see because that gave us a window to see like how life was back then. Awesome. Love that part. But as a pure sense of how did that move me emotionally from like an art sense, it was great work, but I wanted something different. And that's why I think I like the dot work because it was more colorful and it was more, to me, lively rather than drab.
The pointillist, it's interesting because that's the neo-impressionist. And the pointillist is another one where you when you're up close, that it's more like Mark Tennant, except he's not doing points, he's doing swipes still or brush strokes. But one of the most famous pieces of art that I think most people do know about is that art, a Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte, who was done by George Seurat, who was one of the people that Pissarro worked very closely with, but it was at the very end, it's like 10 years before he painted the stuff we're talking about, Ruin. That's when he kind of gave up that neo-impressionist piece.
Well, and here's the thing, like, I totally agree with, like, with Monet and also with his, like, art dealer guy or his, I'll call him the agent. Like, they're both telling him, like, you need to stop the freaking dot stuff and you need to stop painting, like, individual people and go back to, like, landscapes because this shit doesn't sell.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with them.
That's real. Real in a very different real way.
So there's this other painting. This is during his dot era.
Uh-huh.
And dummy me, I didn't get the picture of like what it was called. Like I didn't get a picture of the plaque. But it's like it's a scene. Here, you can see it. It's the one where it's like a fog right against a forest line.
Okay.
And you can see like in the fog there's like horses. That I thought was really cool.
I agree. I really liked that one too because the horses in particular looked more like they were like spirits than actual animals. That was one of the more impactful.
And then like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're not interrupting anything. That was one of the more impactful pieces. I don't know if I caught a picture of that one because I also took a picture of that painting.
So here's like the garden of the hen house. This is like part of his dot stuff.
Yeah.
And like this is what I liked. See like how it was like bright and stuff like
so
that.
So that is one of my favorite paintings by his, and I agree with you. And also because it wasn't just a great. What was that? Do you have the year on that? Was it in 1886 or 1884 or something like that? But that one also, it was so
1892.
So that's even later. So he had kind of given up. He proclaims he gave up in like right around 86, the neo-impressionist. But if he's still doing the dots, it worked on that one because it looks three-dimensional.
Yeah. So, and I do think like his landscape stuff is much better.
Oh, well, it's more fun to look at than some people.
Yeah, he had this other one, Autumn and the poplar trees too. That one there. Like, sorry, folks, you don't get to see what I'm showing here. Maybe I'll cut them in, but
Google it. Just look it up.
But yeah, I did enjoy his work. I didn't know who he was though. Honestly, I'll be straight. I didn't know who he was. Monet, I know who he is. Rouen, I know who he was, but I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't believe Pissarro gets anywhere near the attention that these others get.
Just a little bit more.
And I think part of that is is that piece because he bounced a lot. He bounced between his paintings, and that's where I struggled to think of him as whether or not he was or wasn't a great versus other pieces. But what I have to give credit for, whether or not I think of that, is that he was trying different things. Like he was actually experimenting. He was a scientist meets artist. And I do believe that's very important. Also, the number of paintings that we saw that all look so profoundly, perfectly intact. I'm guessing he used some of his smart science to make sure he used the right paint when he was doing his paintings, because he laid that stuff on thick on some of these canvases. It was a pleasure to see. It was absolutely wonderful to enjoy this art and see it firsthand. And again, the more impactful pieces are just how close he was to Monet, how much Renoir said he influenced him, because Renoir's works, in my opinion, are completely, the contrast is significant. They're totally different. But the number of artists that he did impact one way or another is phenomenal.
I agree. And really, I think a lot of his work, like I'm like looking at my phone here.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of his work from Rouen is like what I really enjoy.
No, it really is. I'm also looking at different pieces, and I agree with you. I loved, and they're not all bright and sunny and
no,
things.
They're not all.
A ton of them are about fog and the weather.
Yeah, I just think, but I think at this point, like he's like so well experienced about how to paint because of all of his experimentation that like that his artwork then during that time frame was incredible.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, and then you can say anything you want to wrap up with or ask any other questions you might want to ask, is I think it's unfortunate always, right? The artists, and Mark Tennant's one of the rares where he is super famous and still living. Picasso got some of that as well, where he was rich, so to speak, in so many ways. Pissarro was not that. Pissarro didn't make enough money to live comfortably with his family in France until the last 10 years of his flipping life, when he's painting actually all of the pieces you're talking about in Renoir. When he's there in France and his family comes and he can send to them and have them spend time with him in France in a nice studio apartment and all these pieces. But the beauty and the brilliance of that also is, and this is something that even my son is helping me understand as I go through my life's journey, learning from my youth, the youth, is that...
Did you say two youths?
My cousin Vinny, is this piece of... I don't know that it's as important to me at this stage in life to live rich as it is to enrich the lives of others, including my own children and other people that I work with or am friends with, a number of other things. That's so much more important to me than not. And Pissarro absolutely had to fight and distance himself in the sense of comfort. He had to remove himself from comfort to attain his goals. He wasn't just going mainstream to sell art. He was literally giving people the proverbial finger to do what he believed in. And I think there's something honorable, if not absolutely, definitely admirable as well, but honorable and admirable, but profound, that needs to be respected by the art world. And I think they do at this point. They didn't then.
Yeah.
All right.
So one last tidbit here I thought was really kind of interesting is that he is the only artist that his work appeared in all 8 of the Impressionist exhibits that were in Paris.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really weird because I would think it would be Monet or somebody like that, but no, it was him.
I don't know how that whole thing worked either, but when I was made aware of that, the first thing I thought was that's because he was trying harder than anyone. He wanted to make an impact, and he did.
Yeah, he totally did. He totally made an impact, obviously, to be considered the father, and like how, look at who his pallbearers were, and like, you know, he's like, honestly, I think if like from what I understood from the stuff that I read and saw was like his bestie was like freaking Monet. Like, how cool is that? Maybe back then it might not have been all that cool, but now it's pretty cool. And the other thing is like his family is still heavily involved in art. Like his great granddaughter or something like that, her pieces of work are sometimes like exhibited with his work, like side by side. And his like I think a grandson or great grandson or something like that is like the curator of some art museum in New York. So like his family is still heavily involved in art. And another big thing is that because he is Jewish, it's like a lot of his paintings were sought out during the Nazi era.
So it's interesting to bring that up. One of the things that's like most known, he was known for historically is the number of pieces of paintings that went missing. And that even just a few years ago, were finally returned some of their original rollers. 22 of them.
It's missing something. Like a whole part when his family had to move to the family had to move to, and maybe this was a good thing. That for Mad Monet. And also, like when the President War happened, he lost approximately 1,500 paintings because like the president used it as like doormats. They were wearing his as like partial dresses like that. Like, I lost like I don't know how much it was, but like a huge amount, like 8 or 9% of his work during the time frame. He basically had to start over from scratch, and I'm sure that didn't help him out financially. Probably not like I wasn't super cool. It's hard to find like editing reader. Like
Yeah, and I mean, talk about how like when he was living, he struggled to sell his art because he wasn't just getting what people wanted. However,
how much it was his wife living.
no, I can't figure that shit out. The thing is, like, he's got paintings going for $12 million. That's not the big ones. That's not the famous ones that in museums. The personal ones that you can get the problem.
Back then.
Just give me a phone number. All right. Well, yeah. It was good to see, especially
I appreciate that. Thank you for setting that up. One thing I will give a piece of advice. Never argue. You're not doing it. That like honestly, the way is take it, go upstairs, read it right away, drink it for the way no one know nothing, and when we out, it's like freaking like
everyone's trying to get on the side of Japan for out to rebound.
it's like weird.
Next week's Smart Challenge.
Next week's Smart Challenge. I think this is a follow from a Smart Challenge, not quite positive. It'll be putting a bone temple as well. We do the other 8 years, whatever it was.
We didn't do it as so I still need to see that one.
We'll do this next one. You didn't see the one?
I didn't want to see it. I thought it was right on the holidays and everything. Like, I just never made time. I could make time.
You can
Temple. That's what it is.
new 28 years.
Was that this week? All right, there we go.
But I would advise watching the previous one. If we have to keep it.
Wait, work.
Right, cool. All right, if you made this far and you made it to our ruling at the end, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate all you watching to our all this on any podcast forms. Please like, subscribe if you like our work. And yeah, honestly, I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, leave some comments about the Dalmore you tried or any Dalmore really.
field of impression.
You guys so much for supporting. Tell us.
It's going to be easy, actually. The more good times of that, much better. Also, that drink responsibly, do not drink and drive. Have fun, and until next week.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.